sadly, I hate to tell you, but it looks like we may have to drop support of AAA games completely soon. Because let's look back through the regression a little bit. Remember back in the day, games had demos? I guess they kind of still exist now in the form of early access that you have to pay for, sometimes more than for the finished game, which is kind of ridiculous. But in my opinion, any game that does early access and doesn't do it Minecraft style, which if you guys don't remember, Minecraft got more expensive the closer to release it got. So if you were an early buy-in, if you invested in the game early, if you bought in early, you paid less. That's how early access should be. You're paying less because you get less content. The game's not finished yet. To reward you for your loyalty for investing early, you get that price. You get the full game once it comes out. That's the type of early access I could get behind. Not this other shit. But either way, demos. Remember, demos used to be a thing when companies actually were so confident in how good their games were, they wanted to let you try it before you bought it. You remember those days? Remember those days when when some people actually bought games because they came with demos for other games in them? I remember that. But either way, demos started going away. And people started talking about how, we can't trust these companies that don't give us demos because clearly they're not confident in their product enough to let us try it, which was true. But eventually, demos went the way of the dinosaur. With a few rare exceptions, demos are gone now. Unless you want to count early access, but I already went into that. Next up, pre-orders, right? Remember pre-orders? And remember how they decided to, I guess, bribe us into pre-ordering by just packing a bunch of shit into the games. It's all just stuff that they easily could have put in the main game, but we're just going to hold this as exclusive to the pre-order. And they did that to entice you to get the pre-order. If I want this fancy outfit or this new equipment, I need to pre-order. Otherwise, I don't get this stuff. It's pre-order exclusive. And then you pre-order and you realize, shit, this game sucks, but now I can't refund it. So the rule became don't pre-order. No demo combined with a pre-order, it's almost as if they're trying to trick you to sucker money out of you, isn't it? Although, I will say, in full disclosure, I pre-order shit all the time on Steam. But that's only because Steam has a refund policy. As long as you do the pre-order, like a few days before the game launches and you don't play it for more than 2 hours, and if the game came bundled with anything else, you can't play any of the bundled games for more than 2 hours either, or else you lose the ability to refund the whole bundle. Just an FYI, in case you guys are planning to do this. But I see no problems with pre-ordering on Steam and keeping yourself within the refund window, and then if the game turns out to be shit, just refunding it. You lose nothing. There's no reason not to do that. So, yeah, we went from don't buy games with no demos because they're trying to trick you. Eventually, everyone forgot about that. Then it went to don't pre-order. Don't pre-order because they're just trying to trick you. They're luring you in with those fancy, shiny items. But they're just trying to trick you into buying a piece of shit. And eventually people, like when Total Biscuit died, nobody really cared anymore. There's like, everyone just pre-orders all the time. What came next? Wait for reviews. Don't buy the game now. Wait for the real reviews. No, and I'm not talking about the shill reviews. Because just about anyone who got an early copy of the game is probably going to shill for it. Because I've mentioned this story before. I went to a convention before, and I was in a panel with a bunch of independent journalists. And they flat out said they understand why so many of these so-called journalists shill and refuse to say bad things about horrible games. Because they recounted their own experience of giving a Call of Duty game a low score, and Activision never talked to them again. They were never able to get any more review copies, no more freebies, no more nothing. No more press releases. No. Activision completely cut contact with them when they gave an honest review of a Call of Duty game. Yeah, so we went from don't buy games with no demos, don't pre-order. Now we're wait for the customer reviews. Because a lot of times, yeah, the preview reviewers are probably paid shills. So wait until the audience gets it. Wait for audience reviews. And then after that, it went to, instead of just that, wait until 2 or 3 months after the game launches, because it's probably a buggy fucking mess. And it usually takes a few months to fix it. So unless you plan on playing it right away, just wait until it's playable. Now the new rule seems to be don't buy it until it's been out for like half a fucking year. Why is this? Well, not only do we have AAA games that go on sale for half off like a week after they launched, Fallout 76, Battlefield 5, sorry, had something in my throat right there. But more importantly, we have big publishers wait months before adding predatory microtransactions into the game. Like, Black Ops 4. Sorry, had something in my throat again. I apologize. This is why I was waiting on Sekiro, to be honest with you. Even though it is an exclusively single-player game without any of the online features that the previous From Software games had, it's published by Activision in the West. There's no way it's not gonna have microtransactions. Remember, this is the same Activision that released Call of Duty 4 Black Ops and didn't have any of this predatory shit in it for months, so they could get the positive reviews by everybody, by the fans, by the shills. Everyone was talking about how good the game is. And then once people are invested in it, then they start with the microtransactions. And funny enough, I could already see potential microtransactions for Sekiro. Like, they could sell those dragon tears, you know, those items that cure the dragon rot. They could even sell resurrections. Like, oh, I see you've used all your resurrections on this boss fight. Pay $1 and we'll give you another one. You can get good. And I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. And honestly, I wouldn't even be against that either. Just punish people who refuse to get good. That's how it worked in the arcades. If you refused to get good in the arcades, you were spending 30 times the quarters as the person who got good. That's just how it's always been in gaming. That's fine. But either way, that's where we are now. We have to wait months because companies will, yeah, they're catching on. They keep moving. They move with us. They know we're waiting until the customer reviews come out now. So they purposely hold off on putting the predatory shit in their game until the customer reviews are already out. And then once they have all the good reviews, then they're, okay, now we put the microtransactions in. And it gets worse. Nowadays, we have to worry about things like with censorship, because we've seen this already. I mean, I think the first example I can think of is Berserk, the Band of the Hawk. Yeah, that's like that Dynasty Warriors style game where the main game was uncensored in the West. They just refused to release that Casca cosmetic DLC with she just had like her wet white shirt. And then they just claimed, we didn't censor the game. We just didn't bring some DLC over. That's fine, right? And we saw this most recently with One Piece World Seeker, where again, they released the main game, quote unquote. But then I think Bandai Namco intentionally put that hot springs scene as a separate DLC so they could withhold it from the US and still be able to tell us to our faces that they didn't censor the game. They just didn't bring some DLC over. That's all that was. If this keeps up, our new policy should be any company that pulls shit like that one time, you can never trust them again. No matter what they put out, don't buy from them because they will fuck you over again. These companies, they don't care about giving you a good product anymore. They have no confidence in their product whatsoever. They refuse to give us any sort of demos, early access we don't have to pay for. They purposely pull these shady fucking tactics to manipulate the reviewers and us customers into buying in before they bait and switch us. It's almost as if they're telling us that what they're making is shit and they know we don't like it. So stop buying from them. Like, that's where we are now. We may have to conveniently just stop buying AAA entirely. Or at the very least, stop buying from any company that even does this once. Because I suspect this may be a trend in the future going forward, where these companies in Japan specifically are going to preemptively build their games with all the quote-unquote controversial content being planned for DLC, so then they could release the game uncensored and proudly proclaim they're against censorship, releasing the game uncensored in the West, and then they're just conveniently not going to release the DLC that contains all the stuff we would have wanted in the first place. Don't support business practices like this, guys. Just let these fuckers go broke, especially since we got so many good indies rising. And the more of this shit I see, the more they're pushing me into finally getting off my ass and resurrecting some of my own projects I wanted to work on, when it comes to gaming in particular. If that happens, I'll be sure to let you guys know. And that's all I got to say about that.